Okay, so let's look at the calc active part of the CT, okay? So for this particular question, 17 squared divided by the square root of 841. So clearly on your calculator, you're going to type in 17 squared. So you use the x squared button, press that, type in 17, then toggle across and put a negative sign, and then square root and type in 841, toggle across, and then press equal. Most of the mistakes kids make with this one is that they don't use the toggling across buttons in order to move the cursor across before they do the next bit, and they end up sort of forcing it all together and then end up mucking it up that way. Okay, so that will give you an answer of 260. Okay, this one here, you've got to put in some brackets into this to make it work. Okay, so again, we're looking at BODMAS here. So we're going to end up with an answer of 1 here. So what we're trying to really do here is probably reduce this part. We've got 50 already, so we want to get that smaller, so then we can take away the 4. So here, if we put that around there like that, 2 times 5 is 10, okay? And notice the note taking. 50 divided by 10 will give us 5. 5 take away the 4 will give us the 1, okay? So you've got a bit of logical thinking about how you're going to end up from getting from 50 all the way down to 1. And third question here is 1,485. You're after 3 numbers that it's divisible by, okay? Well, everyone should be writing down 5, okay? Because it ends in a 5, okay? So then what you're looking for is some other way. Now, obviously it's not doesn't end in a even number, so it's not going to be divisible by 2. So the next one you'd check would be 3. So 1 plus 4 plus 8 plus 5, okay? So 1 and 4 is 5, 5 and 5 is 10, and 8 is 18. And then you add the 1 and 8 together, and that equals 9. So that means that 9 is definitely one of the numbers that is divisible by, and if it is divisible by 9, it must also be divisible by 3. So 3, 5, and 9 would be your 3 answers here, okay? And then the last question here says change 1 digit so that it's divisible by 6, okay? And if you change the last digit, okay, the 5, and if you change it to an 8, it will become divisible by 6. Now, the reason why we went from 5 to 8 is because remember when we added them all together before and we ended up with 9, okay? If you add 3 more onto that, okay, you'll end up with a 12. So 1 plus 2 will give you 3, and that would mean it'd be divisible by 3 and 6. Okay, so the next question says you've given these 2 numbers, okay, and you've got to find 2 primes that are less than 20 that will have those 2 numbers as their multiples, okay? So we're after primes here. Now obviously the easiest one to do here would be 2, okay, because 2 is a prime number, and obviously they are both even numbers, so it's definitely going to be 2, okay. Now the other one I would go is after 2, obviously the next most obvious one to check would be 3, okay, would be the most obvious one to check next. So 1 plus 6 is 7, plus 3 is 10, plus 2 is 12, and then 1 plus 2 is 3. So yes, that's a tick there for divisible by 3. And then 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 2 is 5, plus 4 is 9. So again, also divisible by 3. So 3 is one of the primes less than 20. That also works. And just as a side note, 17 would also work if you bothered to go that far, although I don't imagine many people would get beyond 2 and 3, given that they both work. Okay, so now we have a scenario where we have a submarine that's below the surface. So the surface is 0, okay, and it's below, so it's 134 meters below. So we can write this all as an equation. So it'll be negative 134, okay, and then it rises, adds on 91 meters, okay, and then it dives again, loses 157, okay. And then obviously once you put those into your calculator, because it's calc active, you end up with an answer of negative 200 meters. So it's so the answer, how far is it below the surface? It's 200 meters below the surface. We can use it, therefore 200 meters below the surface. Okay, so question 6 asks us to find the largest 3-digit number that's divisible by both 4 and 5. Okay, now what we know here is that 4 times 5 equals 20. So this number is going to be a multiple of 20. Now, it has to be a 3-digit number, okay? So it's always good to visualize what that's going to look like. So we can see the biggest 3-digit number you can possibly have is 999, okay? Now it can't be 999, okay? So one more than that's obviously 1,000, okay? And if you take 20 away from that, that leaves you with 980, okay? So that would be, okay, now we know that 980 will be a multiple of 20, okay, because we know that 20 goes into 100 5 times, so the 100 is still excluded, and we know that 20 goes into 80, so 980 would be the largest multiple of both. Okay, so here we have the magic square, okay, and with the magic square we need to make it so that all of the horizontal rows, all of the vertical columns, and the 2 diagonals all add to the same total, okay. So on our calculator we can put our diagonal here, so we have negative 14 plus negative 10 plus negative 6, okay? And so if we put that in, that becomes negative 14 take away 10 take away 6. So negative 14 take away 10 is negative 24, take away 6 more is negative 30. So they've all got to add up to negative 30. So here we have negative 6 take away negative 7 is negative 13, okay? So we're going to need a negative 17 in order to get that to negative 30, okay? Now we have a negative 10, negative 17 is negative 27. And you can see how I'm just note-taking for myself in the corners as I do this so that I can track my information. So I need a negative 3 over here, okay? And then I've got a negative 14 and a negative 3 gives me a negative 17. Okay, so I need a negative 13 over here. And I can check this way if I wanted to. Negative 10, negative 7 is negative 17, negative 13, again negative 30. Negative 13 take away 6 is negative 19. So I need a negative 11 in there. And then negative 10 and negative 11 gives me negative 21. So I need a negative 9 in there, and they are all done, okay?